With all the controversy surrounding YSL recently, I would like to say the craziest things that I'm reading are in the indictments, but it's actually not. It's the reveal of Gunna's real name, Sergio Kitchens. Like, how did that come about? What motivated your parents to do that? Gunna has had an incredible year in 2022. I go back and I almost forget how popular Pushin' P was. I almost forget the moment that created, how much virality that song had. His album, Drip Season 4, I believe, went #1 this year. He had a crazy rollout for it, a lot of success. I'm pretty sure he was planning a really big tour, having a large plan for it this summer. Unfortunately, Big Dick will not be back outside. It's astonishing how quickly all of those accomplishments, all of those feats, all of that success, that momentum that he generated at the beginning of this year can just come to a screeching halt, come crashing down. All of it come to this massive implosion. And I'm looking at the charges here, and at first, like most people, I'm thinking that, it's not probably going to stick. They got Gunna on being associated to YSL or showing up in a few music videos. He'll be fine for the most part, I would assume, at least fine enough to catch bail. But apparently, no. What people don't understand about this case, unfortunately, is since he was denied bail, that means the judge had to believe a certain level of information that was given to him by the prosecutor. And since that is now established, that means they have Gunna on far more than just some song lyrics. Now, can the government, can the police, can the law be corrupt while at the same time understanding and believing that Gunna has a higher bit of a participation in this YSL quote-unquote street gang than we originally thought? Sure, both of those things can be true at the exact same time. I don't like the law either, and I also don't like that, for many cases that have been presented to the public, song lyrics have been used as a bit of a foundation for a lot of prosecution's case. Even if that is true, which is a problem and a precedence that I don't like being set as it pertains to a genre of music where a certain lifestyle that gets discussed or promoted, talked about, have light shed on, can easily be cherry picked and the overall outcome be dictated by a judge's discretion. I don't like that being a potential standard. And I also don't think people understand how big of a momentum killer this is. And there should be no argument, there's no debate that Gunna at this point in his career is the biggest he's ever been. And no, that isn't a joke for the idiots who like to make these weight jokes. I don't know where that came from. This much of a momentum killer can sometimes be irreversible. The damage that it can do to a hot streak, the damage that it can do to a hit record, the damage that it can do to a tour, the damage that it can do to your expected or anticipated earnings for not only the summer, but for the year, the damage that it can do to the reputation that you have when it comes to your next release. I think a lot of people look at these situations and they're like, oh, you know what? He gonna have a great Get Out record. When he gets released, when he comes home, his #1 record gonna be crazy. That's not true. But for artists who have not established themselves as personalities first, this is a much harder hole to crawl out of. This isn't like Bobby Shmurda, who has one of the biggest personalities in hip hop. So when he comes out and he starts partying and he starts doing these interviews and he starts showing up on people's live shows, people are looking at his personality. They're like, oh my God, this is something that I can get behind. I'm glad that he's free. I'm glad that he's doing well now. I'm glad that he's back home. Even Bobby Shmurda, who received all that support at this stage in his career, is nowhere near as hot as he was before he went in. You mean to tell me Gunna, Mr. Fine Guys, is going to be able to go in here, possibly stay for 7-8 months off of the back of a #1 album earlier this year and be fine when he comes out? That's a lot. That's a lot to recover from. It is career killing levels of time and waiting. That if a different artist under different circumstances would be in there for, would likely receive much more support coming out. But I don't know if that's true for Gunna. Unfortunately, me having those beliefs doesn't immediately set Gunna free, nor do I want him set free if he is accused of participating in what he is accused of participating in. I said it in the last video I made about this YSL issue, and I'll say it again. There's this level of support that most popular rappers who have admitted to being in some level of life of crime in their past get. Meanwhile, the people that they commit these crimes against are either never heard of or never get any sort of justice. At the end of the day, I'm not advocating for every rapper to have to answer to every little thing that they've ever had to do, but the things that you used to live and the things that you used to do have a way of catching up with you. And no matter how much money you get, you can't really avoid that. And I think this case is just a shining example of such. Now, Gunna was denied bail and had his trial date set for January of 2023. That is a legitimate 7 months away. Now, if there is zero intervention, Gunna will be sitting in jail for 7 months awaiting a trial date. Is that likely? No, but it's possible. The same people who are complaining about Gunna having to possibly sit in this system for 7 months awaiting a trial date are the same people who thought that Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez case would be settled a week after it was initiated. These things take time. I've seen people wait months, almost years to get a court date for a ticket. Now, why is Gunna being denied bail? He's a flight risk. No, it doesn't immediately mean that you're going to flee from the country, although that's possible. Flight risk in this case is more likely to mean that Gunna, having access to a bail, could do whatever it takes to silence any possible leaks of information from the outside. Gunna actually offered for his phone to be watched and his calls to be monitored. Now, sure, that might sound like a bit of good faith, but in reality, they know at that point you're not going to do anything crazy or stupid. Giving them access to your phone post bail is the same thing as allowing your girl to monitor your phone after you've already cleared it. They're not going to find anything, and you're going to be very careful at this point. So there's no incentive for that to be the basis for why they would let you out. Again, this is the same dude who had the #1 album this year. When he said Pushin' P, I had no idea he meant prison. The reason Gunna's being held is because they don't want him to communicate with anyone. That is the point. Even if he offers his phone as a watch tool, as almost like an ankle monitor, he doesn't have to use it. He doesn't have to speak on it. There's communication that you can use. There's other means of communication that you can use to speak to members that are in there already, speak to members outside of YSL if you're trying to corroborate stories, if you're trying to be on the same page, if you're trying to prevent someone from saying something. Personally, I don't like the whole idea of this innocent until proven guilty thing, where you're basically forced in cuffs and forced in jail until you wait for someone to prove their case against you. But the judge in this case clearly believes that there is enough evidence to support the claim in the indictment against Gunna, which is why he's not getting a bail. But on top of that, it is a preventative tool to prevent communication from occurring within YSL. So understand that Gunna being held here, although it fucking sucks for his audience, for his fan base, to an onlooker like me, it makes sense. Even if I don't like law enforcement. What I actually think is more interesting is how the narrative has so easily changed. I remember in the beginning, everyone was just so sure that Gunna would be let out, immediately, because the public felt that all they had against him was association to YSL as a music group, not as a gang. Now the optics look a bit different, and Gunna's level of participation in the street gang, quote unquote, look to be a lot higher or intricate than they were at first let on. I think I'd feel better about the prosecution, obviously, if I felt like they were doing it out of some sense of good faith. But objectively speaking, in my mind, if black people end up getting some sort of justice or closure from seeing these people be locked up or have to atone in some way because one of their people were victims to YSL, I'm perfectly okay with that too. At the end of the day, I don't want Gunna and Young Thug to be in this position any more than their fans do, but the faceless victims that they might casually throw into some of their songs as a subtle flex at some point have to get acknowledged. And no, that doesn't mean I'm supporting cases against song lyrics, because that's clearly not what's going on here. I don't know every little detail, every minute level of information that they have against Gunna and Young Thug at the moment, but it's a lot more than just song lyrics. For anyone thinking that, oh, they just got them because they said something in a music video, it's significantly more than that. And has me begging the question, if they can keep Gunna in here based off what they have, what the fuck chance does Young Thug have?